All right, today we're diving deep into a really big idea, Howard Gardner's theory of multiple intelligences. And we're going to go way beyond those little online quizzes, you know the ones. We're getting to the core of his theory, the actual evidence behind it, and why it totally changes the game on how we think about being smart.
So, let me just ask you something right off the bat. How smart are you? For most of us, the way we've been taught to answer that feels, well, pretty restrictive, doesn't it? It's like we're being asked to fit ourselves into a tiny box.
And for the longest time, that box was defined by one single thing: a number. Yep, your IQ score. The whole idea was that there's this one general intelligence, and a test could tell you exactly how much you had. But come on, trying to measure the incredible complexity of a human mind with one number, it's just not going to capture the full picture. Gardner put it perfectly. He said relying only on IQ tests, it's like judging a fish on its ability to climb a tree. It's absurd, right? You're completely missing the genius of the fish because you're testing it in the wrong element. And that analogy, that's really the heart of his whole argument.
So what Gardner did was completely flip the script. He said, hey, instead of thinking about intelligence as this one single spotlight, what if we imagine it as a whole array of different lights, each one lighting up a totally different, unique human capability?
And that brings us to the core of his theory. He didn't just propose 2 or 3. He initially laid out 7 distinct intelligences. So let's actually break down these different ways of being smart.
Think of these as your own personal cognitive toolkit. You've got the ones we all know from school, right? Linguistic, being great with words, and logical mathematical, for all the pattern and number wizards out there. But then it gets way more interesting. There's musical intelligence for people who live and breathe sound and rhythm. Spatial intelligence for those who think in pictures and can navigate anywhere. There's even bodily kinesthetic, thinking with your body. That's your amazing athletes, dancers, and surgeons. And finally, the social smarts. Interpersonal, which is all about understanding other people, and intrapersonal, which is about truly understanding yourself.
Now, you might be thinking, okay, that's cool, but aren't these just talents or skills? And that is a totally fair question. Gardner knew he had to back this up, so he pulled some really powerful evidence from a bunch of different fields to show, no, these are distinct forms of intelligence.
And what's so cool is how the evidence comes together from completely different areas. From neurology, we know that brain damage can, say, wipe out someone's ability to speak, but their ability to navigate a room is perfectly fine. From an evolutionary perspective, this makes total sense. Our ancestors needed these separate skills to survive. You needed bodily control to hunt, and you needed spatial skills to find your way home. And finally, you just have to look at different cultures which value and develop completely different cognitive strengths.
This is a fantastic example of that cultural point in action. You've got the Puluwat navigators in the Pacific Islands, who have this highly developed spatial intelligence that lets them navigate the open ocean just by reading the stars. Now compare that to traditional Islamic scholars, who cultivate an incredible linguistic intelligence to memorize enormous sacred texts. Each culture nurtures the type of smarts it needs to thrive.
Okay, so this leads to a really crucial question, maybe the most important one. Are we just stuck with the hand we're dealt at birth? Are these intelligences set in stone?
And the answer is a big, resounding no. They are not fixed at all. Gardner was really clear about this. Sure, our genes might give us a certain starting point, a foundation, but it's the mix of our culture, our education, and crucially, our own personal effort that really shapes and develops these abilities. Nurture is just as important as nature.
All right, so this is all fascinating theory, but why does it actually matter? What does it mean for us in the real world? Well, this is where it gets really practical, both for our schools and for our own personal growth.
Just imagine how this could change a classroom. Let's take a typical school subject, like ancient civilizations. You know, the old way was probably just reading a chapter in a textbook and then taking a test on it. Pretty dry, right? But with this new approach, it blows the doors wide open.
Instead of that one boring way in, you create all these different entry points. Students who are spatially smart, they can create detailed maps of the Roman Empire. The bodily kinesthetic kids, they can perform historical reenactments. You could have debates, you could build models of aqueducts, you could even create musical soundtracks for different historical periods. Suddenly, every student has a way to connect with the material using their own unique strengths.
And for you personally, the biggest takeaway is this idea of shifting to a growth mindset. A fixed mindset is that old way of thinking. I'm just not a math person, or you're either smart or you're not. But a growth mindset, which flows right out of Gardner's work, is the belief that your intelligence can be developed. It's about focusing on effort and the process, not just some innate talent you think you have or don't have.
So how do you actually apply this to your life? It's pretty straightforward. First, just become more self-aware. Figure out what's in your cognitive toolbox. Then, be strategic. Play to your strengths. If you're a visual thinker, use mind maps. If you struggle with something, find strategies to work around it. But most importantly, consciously work on cultivating that growth mindset. See challenges as opportunities to get smarter.
But the story doesn't end there. As time went on, Gardner's own thinking evolved. He started to argue that intelligence isn't something that's just locked away inside our skulls.
He introduced this really cool concept called distributed intelligence, and the idea is pretty simple, actually. It just means that our intelligence gets extended and boosted by the tools we use, like our smartphones, and by the people we work with. Our minds, in a way, don't stop at our skin.
He used this brilliant analogy. Our tools act as cognitive prosthetics. I mean, think about it. Just like glasses help us see better, our technology can enhance our memory, our ability to calculate, our way of connecting with others. They literally become extensions of our minds.
And this leaves us with a pretty big, kind of mind-blowing question to chew on. As our tools get more and more powerful, and as we become more connected than ever before, are we actually in the process of creating entirely new ways to be intelligent? What will smart even mean in the future? Now that is something worth thinking about.